Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, Amanda Head, reporting to you from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and my co-host and Just the News editor-in-chief, John Solomon, is out on assignment tonight. And I have been needing to say this for a week now, since Charlie Kirk's assassination, and since we have seen wicked and vile hearts out there overflowing through people's mouths and out their fingertips into their keyboards. I'm just about a millimeter away from being a free speech absolutist. I'm very close to extreme on 1A. But here's the deal. We are living in a time when people are getting canned left and right for the vile stuff that they post on social media. And then they turn around and scream, my free speech is under attack. So let's get one thing straight. There's a world of difference between free speech and inciting violence. And too many folks out there are deliberately blurring that line to play the victim. Free speech means that you can share your opinions, even the ones that make people roll their eyes or clutch their pearls. But when your posts are calling for harm, stirring up mobs, or spreading hate that puts people in danger, that's not just an opinion, that's incitement. And it's got no shield under the First Amendment. The Supreme Court's made that pretty clear since Brandenburg v. Ohio in 1969. So if your words are intended to provoke illegal activity or are likely to produce it, you're not waving the free speech flag, you are lighting a match. And let's talk about the workplace, because that's where this drama is playing out. In 28 states, right-to-work states, employers can fire you for any reason or for no reason at all. You could get the boot for wearing socks with sandals, posting a spicy meme, or just because your boss woke up grumpy. That's the deal. Freedom of speech means that we're not going to lock you up for things like they do in the UK, but when you get fired for a social media post that's got your boss's company's name trending for all the wrong reasons, you don't get to cry unfair when the law literally says your job isn't guaranteed. Companies aren't charities. They are not going to keep you on payroll when your online rants are scaring off customers or making the workplace toxic. That's not censorship, that's business. And don't even get me started on this whole, but it was my private social media account. That's nonsense. Social media is about as private as shouting your psychotic takes in the middle of a crowded mall. You're posting on platforms designed to broadcast your thoughts to the world, or at least your 500 followers, their friends, and anyone who knows how to take a screenshot. That private setting, it is a flimsy lock on a glass door. Your coworkers, your boss, or some random internet sleuth can still see what you are saying, especially when it's vile enough to get shared, retweeted, or plastered on a news site. So thinking your private account is something, some sacred, untouchable diary, it's like thinking that whispering in a group chat stays between you and the void. Social media is public by design, and acting shocked when your posts come back to bite you is just willful ignorance. But here's what really gets me. The folks shouting the loudest about free speech these days, free speech being violated, half of them didn't give a damn about free speech until it was their job that was on the line. Where were they when other people, conservatives, whistleblowers, the 45th and 47th president were getting silenced or punished for speaking out? Nowhere to be found. And now, suddenly, they're constitutional scholars because their tweet about taking back the streets or some other dog whistle nonsense got them in hot water. It's not about principle, it's about convenience. They want a get out of jail free card for saying whatever they want, no matter how dangerous, and they're mad that the world isn't playing along anymore. And the truth is, free speech isn't a blank check. It never has been. You can say what you want, but you don't get a free pass from consequences, especially when your words cross into inciting violence or harm. And if you're in one of those 28 right-to-work states, your boss doesn't even need a good excuse to show you the door. So maybe, just maybe, think twice before you hit that post button on that rant, because the only thing lacking here isn't freedom of speech, it's your common sense. All right, so time for us to change gears just a little bit. Let's talk now about where some of those social media posts are coming from. And I'm not talking about the people who are posting them this time. I'm talking about where they got those ideas about Charlie and conservatives in the first place. Part of what inspired those posts came from our own government, who for years were smearing conservatives and religious Christians in America as domestic terrorists. Just the News's own Jerry Dunleavy has a story about that up on justthenews.com right now. So let's bring him on to talk about just how the government under the Biden administration worked to paint conservatives as terrorists. Jerry, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Jerry, so while the Biden administration was casting people who went to Latin Mass or lawfully owned guns or were somewhere in the vicinity of Capitol Hill on January 6th, while they were investigating those people, calling them vile names, sending out intelligence community memos for basically bolos for these types of people, they were turning a blind eye to people like Tyler Robinson and people who were actually planning on committing violence.
I mean, here's the problem right now. Charlie Kirk was just assassinated by what all evidence currently indicates was a left-wing shooter who was motivated because he believed that Charlie Kirk's, I think, very reasonable stances on transgenderism in the view of the shooter were hateful. That's what we know about the shooter, and that's what we know about what has motivated him. On top of that, the shooter's ammunition included inscriptions that were sort of Antifa-style inscriptions, including one that said, "Hey, fascists, catch," right? When a shooting like this happens, I want to know, what is the domestic terrorism threat picture right now? Mm-hmm. And were our law enforcement agencies operating based on an accurate threat picture? And what I can unfortunately say is that it is not clear. At least we cannot turn to the government currently for an accurate assessment of what the current domestic terrorism threat picture is in the United States, as we want to figure out what's going on in the wake of Charlie Kirk's shooting, because the Biden administration spent 4 years politicizing intelligence and muddling this domestic terrorism threat picture. And probably the biggest example of this, and I want listeners to follow along here, obviously January 6th Capitol riot happens January 6, 2021. And what the Biden administration did quietly, without telling us, because we only found this out once Trump became president again, and this information was declassified. But what the Biden administration quietly did was they took these hundreds, really thousands of cases related to January 6th, and they classified them individually as instances of domestic terrorism. And they used those inflated numbers to talk about this massively inflated domestic terrorism threat in the United States, specifically a massively growing domestic terrorism threat from the right. And they used that to implement a new nationwide domestic terrorism strategy and to implement a host of other initiatives. And this is also what they turned the focus of our law enforcement on. The problem here is that we only found out once Trump was president and information was declassified, that what they had done was, for instance, by 2022, so a year after the Capitol riot, there were something like 3,000 domestic terrorism cases that the FBI was looking into. That's a big number, and the Biden administration was running around talking about that number, but what they weren't talking about was the fact that 61% of all of the domestic terrorism cases that the FBI was looking into at that time, so 1,800 out of 3,000, were actually just cases connected to January 6th. A few hours of rioting and out of control protesting on one day. And that inflation drove FBI policy and law enforcement policy for 4 years. And you also saw it with the FBI and DOJ's focus on protesting parents, the Defense Department's stand down order, trying to quote unquote root out extremism in the ranks. All of these things kind of flowed from January 6th and from the Biden administration's focus on the right wing. And unfortunately, a lot of those numbers are just inflated and don't paint an accurate picture. So right now, when we're dealing with a politically motivated assassination, probably the biggest politically motivated assassination in many decades against Charlie Kirk, we don't have a good threat picture right now. And it's because of 4 years of politicization by the Biden administration.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrifying to think about, and I want to ask you about the terror aspect going forward as far as what organizations maybe we should look out for and their associations. But looking back at the Biden administration, I mean, it obviously was the FBI and the DOJ, but does it also loop in, I mean, the ATF, the NSA? How many agencies do we think were politicized to this degree? Because these agencies are supposed to operate independently, but I have no doubt that they were of one mind when it came to the Biden administration's priorities, when it came to essentially demonizing conservatives.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at these big examples, because I think these are worth diving into more deeply. So you had the inflation of our domestic terrorism numbers because of January 6th and the Biden administration's decision there. That then drove FBI and DOJ policy to focus on the right wing and Republicans and conservatives. So you saw this then play out. You saw it play out with Merrick Garland's school board's memo, which was itself based on a letter that the National School Boards Association had written in consultation with the Biden White House, by the way. And that NSBA letter called upon the DOJ to investigate protesting parents at school board meetings, people who were protesting, these schools pushing sort of radical left-wing ideologies to their kids. That letter from NSBA called upon DOJ to investigate those parents as domestic terrorists and perhaps to even deploy the Patriot Act against them. Now, this is a crazy letter that a reasonable Justice Department, when it received it, would very calmly and very politely place it in the shredder. But instead, based on that letter, Attorney General Merrick Garland penned his own memo calling on the FBI and the DOJ to look into protesting parents. And we saw that play out. We saw the FBI field offices try to implicate Catholics as being connected to right-wing violent extremism and terrorism. And by the way, basing the FBI's field office, basing its own memos on extreme, crazy left-wing articles from places like The Atlantic and Salon. I mean, this is not particularly careful work. This was work that was being done based on extreme left-wing inputs to go after right-wingers. And I mentioned the DOD aspect of this, in the wake of January 6th, and with the Biden Pentagon pointing to January 6th, Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered a stand down inside the U.S. military in 2021, ordering them to look into and try to root out extremism. Now, this stand down happened in the summer of 2021, at the same time that the Biden administration really should have been focused on making sure that we didn't screw up our withdrawal from Afghanistan. Their eye was off the ball. They were focused on pretty much anything else but getting that withdrawal right. They got it wrong, and I think we're still paying the price for it. And so these decisions by the Biden administration to politicize intelligence and to focus almost exclusively on the right wing, I think took the FBI's eye off the ball. It took the Pentagon's eye off the ball. It had them focusing on Republicans when we should have been focusing on every threat. Because this is not to say that there is no domestic terrorism threat from people that consider themselves on the right. It's just that it's not the sole place that we should be focusing on. There's a lot of problems with radical Islamic extremist terrorism, left-wing terrorism. These are problems that we need to look at soberly and judiciously, but the Biden administration was looking at them politically, and we're paying the price, because I think that for 4 years our eye was off the ball. We don't know how these networks have advanced over the past 4 years, and I think that unfortunately this new FBI and the new FBI director, because of 4 years, I think, being largely wasted, they're going to be kind of flat-footed. There's 4 years of work that should have been being done that wasn't, and that now we have to play a lot of catch-up.
Yeah, I mean, they're behind the 8 ball. So when it comes to tackling, I don't even know if it would necessarily be surveillance, but for the FBI keeping an eye on a domestic terrorist group like they have in the past with the KKK, with Weather Underground, Republic of New Africa, Black Panthers, whatever. How should we handle it when we have a subsect of American society who, I mean, look, there's a pattern. I don't think anyone can deny what is happening with the trans community when it comes to these shootings and violence. But you've got this group out of Salt Lake City, Armed Queers SLC. I mean, even just the imagery of their group is quite militant. So how should the FBI handle groups like this? Should there be heightened surveillance for groups like this? What does that look like?
So, first I just want to, just put in the fact that this Marxist, Leninist, radical trans group called Armed Queers has not been implicated at this time in Charlie Kirk shooting or anything like that. However, as we take a step back and just kind of look at some of the problems facing the United States, there are large financial networks, left-wing networks that are funding a lot of radical groups that, by their own words, wants to bring communist revolution to the United States. And this is not me putting words in their mouth. This is what they say they want to do. This Armed Queers group is but one example, and perhaps is an interesting case study in what a lot of these sort of radical groups that seem to be in the space of Marxist, Leninist, Antifa-style groups, what these groups are up to. So Armed Queers is a radical trans liberation group, Marxist and Leninist in its own words, just got back from what's called a Mayday Brigade trip to Cuba, which is a trip to Cuba that is put on in coordination with the Cuban government and, frankly, with Cuban intelligence, where people from the United States and around the world, radicals from the United States and around the world, go to Cuba in solidarity with the communist revolution there. And while they are there, the Cuban government works to indoctrinate them further to come back to the United States or their other, the rest of the world, to bring the revolution back. And that is what, in the words of the Armed Queers leaders, they came back inspired to do, is to bring the revolution back here. And what I will say is to look into all of these groups. We as journalists, let's put aside, obviously the FBI and law enforcement need to be doing a lot, but we as journalists, part of what we need to be doing here is looking at the finances and the backing and the networks, because there's a lot of coordination and a lot of money flowing among and in between these groups. And one piece of the financial network that I always say people need to take a look at is Neville Singham, who is a wealthy Marxist businessman who's currently based out of China, self-described Maoist and communist, backing a lot of these groups from the People's Forum.
Follow the money.
And that money flowing to a lot of left-wing groups around the country.
Follow the money, as Kash Patel said, and as a lot of us have said. Jerry Dunleavy, Chief Investigative Correspondent here at Just the News. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back on the other side.
Hey there. Hey. Hey there, how are you? I'm with Disabled American Veterans. I was wondering if you had a quick minute to thank America's veterans for their service and sacrifices.
Of course, why not?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Sure.
All right, hey, well, come on in here. I'm just gonna hit record on this.
I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I can't even think of the words to say of how grateful I am.
I just want to tell you guys how much you appreciate it.
But most importantly, I want to thank you for your courage and bravery.
Wow. Just thank you.
Someone here who'd like to say something to you.
Oh my God, you guys are awesome.
Someone has something they want to say to you.
Goodness.
How's it going?
So I just want to let you know how much you appreciate it. How much you appreciate it.
I just feel honored for everything you've done.
Thank you for myself. Thank you for everybody.
I get to live every day, in peace because of you.
A lot of people thank us, but we want to take the time to thank you, honestly, for giving back. And when you give to DAV, you are supporting veterans like Dave, myself. So thank you so much for your.
Thank you. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by calling the number on your screen right now and giving your monthly support of only $19.
Say thank you by going to helpdav.org right now and give just $19 a month. When you do, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who served.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support says thank you to our nation's disabled American veterans.
Welcome back, everybody. A couple days ago, I got the chance to sit down with Kari Lake to talk about the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. Take a look. She also spoke at the prayer vigil for Charlie over the weekend at the Kennedy Center. She is the senior advisor for the U.S. Agency for Global Media, Kari Lake. Kari, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Amanda.
I wish it was under better circumstances, but when I think about how, Scripture talks about how the Lord can turn anything for good, and I look at Charlie's legacy, and I see that 32,000 requests have been made to start chapters at various schools and universities across the country. They might have tried to snuff Charlie out, but I think that this is only going to explode his legacy, don't you think?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, last night, before I went on the stage at the Kennedy Center, I contacted one of my contacts at Turning Point. They said the number last night had already grown to 35,000.
Wow.
And hundreds of thousands of people have RSVP'd that they want to attend Charlie's funeral service this coming Sunday at State Farm Arena, which is the NFL stadium in the Phoenix area. But more importantly, or as importantly as all of that, I was following a lot of people over the weekend, and I saw one person that asked if people were considering going to church. And there were thousands of replies of people saying that they hadn't been to church in 8, 10, 11 years, some of them 20 years, and they were going to church for the first time and taking their families, their children. People were saying they didn't even own a Bible. They'd ordered a Bible and it was coming in the mail, and they were starting to read it already. The power of Charlie Kirk will live on beyond his death. An assassin's bullet can't take that power away. We know Charlie has everlasting life now. He is in our Savior's arms. However, what we are going to be having as his legacy here on earth is forever changing, not just our country, but I think the world.
Yeah. And Kari, I want to ask you, because you have always been so gracious under fire and been absolutely nothing but class. I personally am having a hard time not being angry about this, but I know that we need to move into a place where debate has not died, even though it seems like it died with Charlie. But when you have issues like Stanislaus County in California, their Democrat Party was invited to a Republican vigil that they were hosting for Charlie in the interest of unity, and the Democrat Party turned them down. How do we debate with people like that? How do we coexist with people like that who claim they want unity, but they don't show up?
Well, the biggest lie was that Charlie was divisive. I don't think divisive is somebody who's willing to go in and sit with people, be outnumbered sometimes by people who disagreed with him, sit down and discuss and debate and talk. That's not divisive. This is a typical example, and I don't want to always just say the far left does this and the Democrats do it. They take a word and they twist its meaning. Divisive is not sitting amongst people who you disagree with and having cordial debate. That's not divisive. And so we reject that lie, and we have to start calling things out like that. When they call him a divisive person, Charlie was one of the most kind people I knew. I enjoyed listening to his debates with people, because what his power was, his secret power was the ability to make people think. People who had an ideology or an idea about something or held a belief about something that didn't make sense, Charlie would automatically give them a light bulb moment. We saw so many people who had a light bulb moment when those debates started with Charlie. I think a lot of people will look back on this. I've seen some of the horrible videos online of people saying the most demented, horrible things. I do believe at some point they will look back in their life and be embarrassed and horrified that they said those things. They're the most heartless things I've heard. But remember this. This is a battle between good and evil. And evil, we can't negotiate with evil. No. We can't negotiate with evil. So if somebody is truly evil, there's no compromising with someone who's truly evil. Now, those Democrats who chose not to attend a vigil, that's just sad. That's truly sad at a time like this that they couldn't do that. I don't say that everybody who's on the left is evil. That is not what I'm saying. But there are truly some evil elements that we've seen in some of these videos that have come out over the past 5 days that I've just found horrifying. And I don't know how to coexist with people like that.
Yeah, I don't know either. It was nauseating to see those responses and just utterly wicked, just wicked. You offered some really sage wisdom to moms directly this weekend and cautioned them against sending their kids off to indoctrination camps. But what if there's a turning point chapter at that university?
Well, things are changing at our universities, but they haven't changed quick enough. I mean, my daughter decided not to go to college. She took Charlie's advice. She actually worked for Charlie. She's still part-time at Turning Point, and they're devastated there. These wonderful, the Turning Point family, young people who are just so incredible. But my son did decide to go to college, and I am in contact with him all the time. I want to make sure, well, I know he's not being indoctrinated, but he fills me in on just the radical leftism that's being pushed in these classes. And we got to start looking at who we're hiring at these colleges. And thankfully, he's got a strong backbone, and he doesn't put up with a lot. But he does tell me it's really horrible on campus. Would he do it again? Would he go to college again? I don't know. Probably, but maybe not. There's so many other options out there. And until we get these colleges where they're not indoctrination camps trying to decay the mind of our young people, I think it's a really good idea for parents to sit down and talk about the other options for their children when they turn 18, what they can do. Get an apprenticeship, go into the trades. You don't really need a college education for the majority of jobs that are out there.
Yeah. Carrie, how did we end up here? I mean, I look at the comments of people like Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer when he was talking about the Supreme Court justices. I look at comments from people like that and think, okay, well, maybe that's where young people got their cue from. But I feel like maybe it's so insidious it started before that.
It's widespread. I mean, this is a communist takeover, and they've managed to capture so many of our institutions. They captured our schools. We see that in K through 12. They're hardly learning anything at these schools. They're being indoctrinated. DEI, racial politics, is just ridiculous. It's like, let's learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, for goodness sakes. Yet they pushed out things like the 10 Commandments. Right. Why can't we teach the 10 Commandments? It's really where our original law comes from. And then they took over our colleges and universities and turned those into indoctrination camps. But then the media has been the most evil and prevalent way of brainwashing the public, and that's where they're brainwashing the masses. Thankfully, people are turning off the mainstream media. It's not mainstream anymore. It's legacy media that is truly dying. Yeah. And the media needs to take some responsibility, and we need to start calling people out. If somebody writes a story that's a lie, the reporter should be shamed, the outlet should be shamed, and they frankly should be fired. We want real journalism out there, not this terrible lies that are being told. We've got to start calling these people out and really revoking their broadcasting licenses, which the public owns, and we shouldn't be giving those out willy-nilly to a bunch of lying, fake news propagandists who have done more to divide and attempt to destroy this country. Despicable what's going on, and I hope that the FCC starts looking very closely at pulling some of these licenses, because the media is rotten.
No, absolutely, rotten to its core. Carrie Lake, Senior Advisor over at the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Always a pleasure having you here. Thanks so much, Carrie.
Thank you, Amanda.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Hey folks, I don't know how anyone can get a restful night of sleep with a CPAP mask strapped to their face all night. Even without it, breathing is disrupted, and we all know how important a restful night of sleep is for our health. If you snore now, you're at a heightened risk of requiring a CPAP machine later in life. So now is the time to stop snoring. One of the easiest, smartest, fastest ways to stop snoring is Zypa. Zypa is the comfortable, doctor-designed mouthpiece that can stop snoring as fast as the first night. Now, don't be fooled by imitators. Zypa was proven in a 600-patient clinical trial and has over 500,000 units sold. Look, this may be your last best chance to solve your snoring problem or face having to wear a CPAP mask for the rest of your life. Zypa, that's Happy Z spelled backward. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code SNORE at Zypa.com. That's ZYPPAH.com. And use the promo code SNORE. Again, one more time. That's promo code SNORE at Zypa, ZYPPAH.com.
Stay tuned to get a free month of home warranty protection. Tired of searching for contractors when your home appliances and systems break down, only to leave you stuck with a huge repair bill and shoddy repairs? Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and appliance breakdowns could cost thousands.
Hi, Tanya Nyack here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, air conditioning, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted technicians with plans to cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way.
It eliminates anxiety, frustration, and it saves you money. I recommend using Choice Home Warranty.
Don't let an appliance or home system break the bank, leaving you stressed. Call Choice Home Warranty before that happens and get your first month free. Plus, call in the next 5 minutes and we'll give you free limited roof leak coverage. That's a $70 value, free. Just call now.
No more headaches searching for technicians. No more huge repair bills. Just the peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. I trust Choice Home Warranty with my home, and you should too.
Year after year, Choice Home Warranty is recognized as the nation's top home warranty and has thousands of 5-star reviews from real homeowners. Experience real budget protection and call Choice Home Warranty now.
Stop flushing money down the toilet on expensive repairs. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free. Don't wait another minute. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. That's over $100 in savings. This offer won't last long. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-495-1163. 800-495-1163.
Welcome back, everybody. So I know you can't believe it, but the midterms are basically upon us, or they will be in no time flat. And Texas has led the way for redistricting battles all across the country. And now it's brought itself to Ohio. So joining me now is candidate for Congress in Ohio, Aaliyah Nadeem. Aaliyah, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Amanda, for having me. And yes, you are correct. It's already coming. The 2026 election cycle is here.
I know it. And it feels like we just got through the general election, and now President Trump makes every day feel like he has jam-packed a week into 24 hours. So, I think we're all a little bit forgiven when we feel that way. But when it comes to the midterms and looking forward, this district that you are running for, it's currently represented by a Democrat, but this is right-leaning. It's R+3.
Amanda, you're correct. Yeah. So actually the president won it by 6%. And we had a congressional candidate who unfortunately was not able to flip it. And so, I've put my name in the hat because we really should have won it last cycle, right? That individual had the resources, had the presidential endorsement. And I think that's the difference between having a show horse and a workhorse, right? So I'm here to work. I announced my campaign in April because I fully realized what you have to do to beat somebody like Ms. Marcy Kaptur, who's held this seat, by the way, for 42 years.
Oh, come on.
And so 42 years, she's 79. It's time to go. Time's up.
It's time to go. It's time to hang it up. My gosh, how many of these people are we going to have in Congress? Okay, so I want my audience to get to know you a little bit. Tell everybody about you, about your background, what you do for a living, and you already told us why you wanted to jump in, which I think is completely admirable. But give us the nuts and the bolts of who you are.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. So, I grew up here in Toledo, Ohio. And I had this really unfortunate incident that happened when I was a child. I was actually kidnapped to Iraq, and I lived under Saddam Hussein. So from 8 years old to 11, lived under a completely different world, lived in a dictatorship. And I never, ever thought I would make it back home, being kidnapped.
Sure.
But the FBI, the US government, and my mother fought like hell for 3.5 years to get me back. And they did. They finally got me back. So at age 11, I come back to the United States. I have to sort of be reintegrated. And every day I've been grateful to live under this flag. And then when I'm a junior in high school, 9/11 happens. And the same country that rescued me was asking me to serve. And it was I am not necessarily what you would think of as a military person. I was in dance, but I felt compelled that I had to serve the same country. So I ended up joining the United States Air Force right after my senior year, became an intelligence officer. Have really focused on the Middle East, have worked in the United States Senate as a military legislative liaison. I've worked at the National Security Council. And so that's been my career for 21 years, is serving. And then I really feel I have to do something about what's happening in our country. And I feel very liberated to share that I've been a conservative, right? As a military person, can't always share what your beliefs are. And so I'm really happy to be part of what the president's doing.
Oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to say this word, but you're a badass. I mean, what an incredible story. I am so glad that you decided to make this turn to go into public service, and I know the people of Ohio are going to be really excited about getting to know you and hearing about your platform. But I want to ask you, because we are just a week away from Charlie Kirk's assassination, and I was just talking with one of our producers here, and there's still just such a dark cloud over our newsroom, over our bureau, over our studio, and it feels like American values are under attack. And it's not just because of Charlie's assassination, it's because of the reaction that we are seeing. I mean, my X feed is full. I mean, every single post is about someone else, another professor, another nurse, another doctor, another government worker, another someone who has something nasty and disgusting to say about Charlie Kirk. And it feels like it's open season on conservatives. How do we defend those Judeo-Christian values that our country was founded on in the wake of all of that?
I mean, it's heartbreaking to watch people rally against somebody's death. This is an American first and foremost. We have lost our way when we're cheering for somebody. And I'm really tired of hearing, well, he reaped what he sowed. No, absolutely not. Nobody, you can speak whatever you want. Nobody deserves to die at the hand of a weapon like that. Not in America. And so I've always been proud to be a conservative, but I've never been prouder. And I'm actually really excited for these midterms, because I think you're seeing an insight what happened to Mr. Kirk, unfortunately, and people celebrating. I think hopefully this wakes up other Democrats to go, is this the party that we want? The party that's celebrating somebody's death? So I think people are going to show in the polls what they really want, and they're going to support conservative values. And that's what I'm fighting for.
Yeah, we've just got about 60 seconds left. So thank goodness we have a president in office who has all but eviscerated any illegal crossings across our southern border. So that issue is pretty much taken care of. Now, we still have the illegals who are in this country, but Tom Homan's doing a bang-up job of deporting, especially the violent ones, and getting them out of our country. But our fiscal house is an absolute dumpster fire. So I can imagine that's something that is on the hearts and minds of Ohioans. Tell us about your campaign and the things that you're talking to your constituents about, or your future constituents.
No, thank you. I mean, the biggest thing is manufacturing, right? We have hollowed out Northwest Ohio. So the current representative, under her watch, 400,000 manufacturing jobs have been lost since she's been on the watch. You get an F for your grade card there, right? We have one of the largest fentanyl problems in Ohio. We unfortunately lead number 7 in the United States for overdoses, and then 80% is related to fentanyl, and that's affected our cities. And then under her watch, we went from 1.1 trillion in deficit to almost 37 trillion. So your report card is an F. So I am focused on manufacturing, bringing those jobs back, really making sure we clean up this drug problem, which you're seeing the president do with crime and drugs, and then really legitimately reducing our deficit, because our children are not going to be able to own a house in the future. They're not going to be able to have a decent income if we don't fix this. So those are my priorities.
I love that. And I know that that's going to be resounding among the people there in Ohio, because it's such a manufacturing state. We love Ohio here at Just the News. Aaliyah Nadeem, very quickly before we let you go, tell everybody where they can find out more about your campaign.
Yes, AleahForCongress.com. Please check me out. Please support me. If you believe in a conservative and you're ready for change, I'm your lady.
I love it. I love it. Aaliyah, thanks so much for joining us. We'll have you back on again very soon.
Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be with me here next, so don't go anywhere.
Hey folks, if you're a homeowner like me, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is their target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and boom, just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. And that's where the problems begin, because they start taking out loans using your equity and even sell your property. And you're not even going to find out it's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice months later. That's a nightmare, right? So when's the last time you checked on your home title? Well, if you're like me, the answer is never, right? You need to do something about that right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code JTN at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes that might happen, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's a good deal. Find out why I trust Home Title Lock. Go to HometitleLock.com and use the promo code JTN. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code JTN.
It's just like our new house.
I hope you have an American Home Shield warranty. Leaky toilet? Fixed. Oven beyond repair? If AHS can't fix your covered item, they'll replace it, no matter its age. Sign up today at AHS.com.
Hello, my friend. Pat Boone here. You know our country's under financial assault like never before. Our government has put us $34 trillion in debt. The interest alone's more than we spend on military defense. And what's worse, other countries no longer believe the U.S. is a safe place to invest. There's a growing international movement to dump U.S. dollars at a record pace. Some economists say this may signal the end of the dollar. Now, these countries are instead buying gold, and I'm suggesting you do the same. My friends at Swiss America have been helping Americans like you and me for over 40 years to buy physical gold and silver for delivery to our homes or held in our IRAs. I've trusted Swiss America for nearly 25 years now, and you can trust them too. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these troubling times.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again.
Please scan the QR code to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for standing in the gap.
Did you know that thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing? If you've written a book, Page Publishing can help you through the process. We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you.
Call or scan for your free writer's guide today.
Welcome back, everybody. For the last week, we have been mourning our dear friend Charlie Kirk and examining his incredible legacy. Charlie was fearless in his pursuit of the truth, and one example of that was back during the COVID pandemic. Charlie was one of the first podcasters to have on doctors who didn't necessarily trust everything that we were being told about the COVID vaccine. So joining me now to discuss this and how important it is world-renowned doctor and chief scientific officer at the wellness company, Dr. Peter McCullough. Dr. McCullough, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You know, we were just talking in the break before we came to air. Charlie was such a supporter of health freedom. And at the beginning of the pandemic, when it was not yet popular to question the narrative, he was one of the few people who was asking questions. And that's so important, whether we're talking about Charlie, whether we're talking about COVID, or something or someone in the future.
So true. I knew Charlie and we'll miss him dearly. He brought a message to the young people of the country to examine their own views on the pandemic and particularly respect medical freedom. I think it's a very, very important message, a very important discussion COVID-19 was hitting college campuses. The kids were involved in unnecessary lockdowns, in some circumstances forced vaccine, and Charlie saw it clearly.
Yeah. What do you think that the role is now of people like Charlie? Is it still to question the narrative? Is it still to, talk about things like the vaccine or what we were all talking about pretty much soon after the COVID pandemic, hydroxychloroquine and other types of ways to treat it? Is that the role?
Yeah, the role is to encourage discussion, fair interchange. We didn't see that on college campuses, and quite frankly, we didn't see it in graduate schools, medical schools, or even on faculties of medicine.
Right. We
have to get back to that. I think part of it was the lockdowns. People were isolated from one another, and we didn't have the normal scientific discourse. Our agencies are still not holding, Washington conferences where we all come together and review lessons learned from the pandemic and discuss, critical issues like vaccine safety.
So whose role would it to bring that back? Because I feel like that's vitally important to have that, that autopsy of what went wrong. Is that the responsibility of HHS? Who is that?
Oh, HHS for sure. In cardiology, we've had Bethesda conferences in years past. That can be the head of the National Institutes of Health, or they can, delegate that to the, the infectious disease branch. The FDA can certainly hold, all hands on deck types meetings to review critical information. But, we need to bring the agencies and medical academia together so we can go over what happened through the pandemic, what worked, what didn't, and particularly examine COVID-19 vaccine safety and side effects.
Yeah, there are definitely lessons to be learned, but until we have those discussions, those lessons are for naught. I want to switch gears and ask you about this parasite that I'm hearing about. Chagas, I think is what it is. CHAGAS. It's transmitted via insects. Tell us about it, and is it something we need to worry about?
In the United States, we don't. There's just sporadic cases, but down in Brazil, for instance, it's the leading cause of heart failure. So Chagas disease, principally it's dealt with by control of the insects that transmit it. But suffice it to say, we're all at risk for parasitic infections. It's normally GI ingesting eggs if we eat sushi or raw or undercooked meals. You see the warnings on menus, for instance, or have pets. Wellness Company, we've got a nice combination, ivermectin, mebendazole fixed dose product that's perfect for that application, since the parasitic diseases are difficult to diagnose.
So that IVM and mebendazole, what is it called?
Mebendazole.
Mebendazole. Is that something that you should take to prepare for it, to kind of ward it off, or is it something that you would take if you got it?
You would take it if you got it. Some people get it when they travel. For instance, they're going to go to Mexico or Central America. Some of the most common parasitic infections include Giardia. You can get that from contaminated water, or pinworms or hookworms. You can get those from dirty bathrooms. So a lot of people want to be prepared. You don't want to get behind on this, and you certainly don't want to go to foreign clinics or emergency rooms.
Absolutely. All right. So I think that the dirty secret is out about the vaccine and its effectiveness or lack thereof, and its safety or its lack thereof. And I know a lot of people experience vaccine regret. When it comes to what the Wellness Company has to offer, I know you guys have this Ultimate Spike Detox and some other products as well. Tell us about it.
Most who've taken the vaccine should be considering Ultimate Spike Detox. That's the medicinal grade, evidence-based, peer-reviewed, published approach to helping the body clear the spike protein that's built up in the body after vaccination. Most patients need to be on it for a year. We start by measuring the antibodies to the spike protein at baseline and follow-up. We want to see a nice drop in the antibodies as an indirect proxy. For those who didn't take the vaccine but just generally concerned, spike support is a lower dose of the most important ingredient, nattokinase. But Wellness Company has you covered with the best products, with the best evidence-based behind them. Right now, no other medical schools have produced any protocols, nor other companies have scientifically published any protocols. Wellness Company is in the lead.
Yeah, once again, the wellness company leading the charge when it comes to these types of solutions. Dr. Peter McCullough, world-renowned doctor and chief scientific officer at the wellness company. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's an honor. And to our audience, go to twc.health/justnews today and use code JUSTNEWS to save 10% on any order from the wellness company. That includes their ultimate spike detox treatment that we were just talking about. That's twc.health/justnews and use promo code JUSTNEWS to save 10%. All right, everybody, next, there's been a lot of wild conspiracy theories spreading online about Charlie Kirk's assassination. We're going to examine one of them next.
Hey, just want to say thank you for your service.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you've heard that before, but we want you to know that we understand the freedoms and liberties in this country are because of people like you who served and gave everything for the cause of freedom. We don't take that lightly. So thank you for everything you've done and sacrificed for us.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
We're ready for our ticket.
It's been paid.
People thank me for my service all the time. But I want to thank you for being someone
worth fighting for. You make it all worth it. If you really want to thank me and other veterans like me, go to helpdav.org and support disabled American veterans. That is the best way to say thank you and keep our promise to our nation's heroes.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by going to helpdav.org right now, or call the number on your screen and give your monthly support of only $19. Your support lets our disabled veterans know you appreciate them and everything they have sacrificed for us. When you do, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who served.
When you support DAV, you're showing veterans like me that you were worth fighting for.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support in this moment honors our veteran service.
Welcome back to our final segment of the night. While Americans are still waiting for further details on the suspect involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk to be made available, it's no surprise that people have come up with far-reaching narratives to try and come to some sort of explanation for the tragic assassination on September 10th. And one of those theories has to do with the nation of Israel and its representatives somehow being involved in the assassination, including those who aligned themselves with the Republican Party and Turning Point USA. So what and who is behind that? Joining us now to discuss, the CEO of Henry Public Relations, Brian Leib. Brian, great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Amanda.
So I saw a video earlier on social media, and it was parody, obviously, but it was an advertisement for an app called Blame Israel. And it was an app where you could go and you could input whatever is happening in the world, and it would output a good reason to blame Israel. And it was a parody, but it actually is a reflection of life, because people will blame Israel for practically anything and everything, and it doesn't matter how absurd or far-reaching the connection is.
That's true, but if I'm being candid with you and candid with the audience, I never in a million years would have thought that less than a week ago, when Charlie was brutally murdered, that within a day the conspiracy theories would start about how Israel killed him, Bibi killed him, the Mossad killed him, Jews killed him. It started with some very fringe people, Amanda, saying these things.
So was it Candace Owens who kind of lit this fire, and then it spread from there?
Candace has lit the fire and continues to fan the fire.
Why would she?
Every single day.
With him.
You know, it's when you figure that out, you let me know, because I don't think any of us can really understand why she's doing what she's doing, other than it's all about Candace. Candace has always been all about Candace. That's the unfortunate reality about her. The fact that she's fanning the flames right now, when they haven't even buried Charlie. Yesterday, she said, the only person that's going to stop me from telling the truth is Erica Kirk. Why does she bring Erica into this situation? Because she's a master manipulator, and she knows exactly what she's doing. She's doing this all for clicks, and there's so many people that, whether it's in the Republican Party or just in general, we've got to start speaking the truth about this. The Candace Owens boat, train has left the station. I don't know what she's doing. She should be ashamed of what she's doing right now, because my biggest fear when she fans these flames about how, oh, it was Jews, it was Israel, and all these things, you're putting Jews in the crosshair that are already in the crosshairs right now.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you, because, I mean, it has its effect on Turning Point, because obviously people are now asking questions about it, and it maybe detrimentally affects their opinion of Turning Point. But it certainly, for a group of Americans, Jewish Americans, who are already dealing with so much violence in their direction, frankly, historic numbers of violence against Jews in this country, it's just piling on.
You know, it's piling on, and it's happening so quickly. I was having a conversation just a little bit earlier about the Holocaust, and how on a Monday, Jews throughout Europe, they thought their neighbors were friends of theirs.
Yep.
And on a Tuesday, they were the ones that were sending them to the death camps. Yep. That is the feeling that I and almost every single Jew in America has right now over the last week.
Yeah.
And by the way, I am a day one MAGA supporter, day one supporter of President Trump. But the rot that I'm seeing on the far right now, the fact that Nick Fuentes condemned Candace Owens tells you everything you need to know. It is out of control. It needs to stop. We need to stop tarnishing Charlie's name, his memory. He was a staunch supporter of the state of Israel. Yeah. The lies that are coming out about, Bibi was trying to pay him $150 million. It's insane.
What exactly are the allegations?
It changes every minute. I heard one a little while ago.
That Charlie had turned away from his support of Israel, or?
Listen, let's be honest, okay? Were there Jewish donors? There's Jewish donors to every organization, okay?
Yes.
And yes, Jewish donors were troubled by the fact that Tucker Carlson was being platformed in a very big way. Let's not forget, by the way, it was on July 4th, Independence Day, that Tucker Carlson thought it was a good idea to do an interview with the president of Iran. That was Tucker Carlson, just for the record. Yeah. So yes, the concerns were real. And I'm sure there were Jewish donors that were having conversations with Charlie, expressing their concern about Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. But to take it to the level that they would take him out is
insane,
slanderous, and frankly absurd.
It's Amanda, thank you for saying that. It's beyond absurd. It's pure insanity. And every single day, whether it's the Candace Owens of the world, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, to continue to fan these flames. Listen, we as a country are already pretty divided. We as a Republican Party now are getting very divided. They need to end the nonsense. Let's honor Charlie's memory. Let's honor his legacy. Yes, everyone should have freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You know, freedom of speech doesn't mean that you need to start putting Jews in the crosshair just to get some clicks on your website. And that's exactly what Candace Owens is doing right now.
Well, as my audience knows, I did a rant in the first block of this show about free speech, and, you know, folks on the left who are decrying their freedom of speech because they're getting fired from their jobs. And it's like, okay, the difference between what you are saying, which is inciting violence on people, and free speech, it's two very, very different things. And I am sorry for the reason that we had to have you here, but I'm very glad to have you here in person. It's been a while, so
I'm glad as well. Congratulations on the new digs here. They're absolutely beautiful. I'm sorry John's not with us, but
I'm sure he would send his regards.
To John.
Yeah, well, I will,
you,
absolutely. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a safe night.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul. Something shocking is happening with gold that the mainstream media won't report. Paper contracts for gold rarely result in physical delivery. But today, billionaires and major banks are demanding actual gold bars at 10 times the normal rate. Why the panic for physical gold? These institutional giants understand our $37 trillion debt means we're on a path to currency collapse. The good news, you can make the same move. A gold IRA from my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group lets you move your IRA or 401k into gold. To learn more, click below to get a free info kit on gold. Throughout history, gold has endured where currencies fail. Right now, the biggest players in the finance industry are proving this time won't be different. Click below for your free info kit from Birch Gold and diversify your savings now.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again.
Please scan the QR code to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for standing in the gap.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. We've got some breaking news off the top of this show. I'd like you to pray for 2 police officers in York, Pennsylvania. Apparently, 5 of them had been shot. 3 are now dead. What we're being told is this was a warrant being served in York, Pennsylvania. Somebody there then opens fire on the officers, killing 3 of them. The suspect then turned the gun on himself, and I'm happy to tell you the suspect is no longer with us. But 3 officers dead, 2 are injured. This is the governor of Pennsylvania.
This kind of violence isn't okay. We need to do better as a society. We need to help the people who think that picking up a gun, picking up a weapon is the answer to resolving disputes. We need to do better when it comes to mental health. We need to do better when it comes to looking out for those who are in need.
We need to look out for people in need. We also have to have respect for law enforcement, and that is lacking from so many across the country, and certainly in blue cities across the country. Again, pray for those 2 officers that are now in the hospital, and we're told they're being treated, and we hope they come out of this okay. Turning now, again, to Democrats that are literally spiraling out of control after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. My mind is now totally boggled over their reaction and the morally bankrupt people that are part of the Democrat Party. It is proving to me, when I look at these so-called leaders of the left, it is proving to me why no one likes them.
Politicizing the murder of Charlie King to go after free speech is not a legacy I believe Charlie King would have wanted.
Charlie King, Jerry Nadler, it's Charlie Kirk, okay? Charlie Kirk. And he died fighting for a country that he believed in. Get his freaking name right. The disrespect to get his name wrong in Congress. This is, of course, at a House hearing where Kash Patel was testifying. They can't get the name right, and then they make wild claims like this.
What shouldn't be happening, however, is this administration's seeming attempt to exploit Mr. Kirk's death within minutes of this horrible, horrible assassination, dividing us even further without knowing enough about the killer's complicated, confused political ideology and the extent of his motivation.
You don't blame the administration for somehow politicizing Charlie Kirk's death? Nobody's politicizing Charlie Kirk's death. What we're saying is the violent rhetoric of leftists is what push people to do things like this. You want to say that's politics? I want to say it's the truth. And not knowing motivation? Literally, the Discord chat said, and I quote, "I had enough of his hatred." said the accused killer, whose live-in boyfriend/girlfriend is a transgender individual that goes by Twigs or Twiggy. What more do you need on the motivation here? So they even tried to blame Kash Patel for the assassination.
You forced out the leader of the Salt Lake City field office, Mehtab Saeed, just weeks before Charlie Kirk's assassination, depriving the FBI of an experienced counterterrorism expert described by her colleagues as absolutely the best and legendary. She would have led the FBI's manhunt had she not been fired.
First off, they caught the accused assassin in 33 hours. It doesn't get much quicker than that. Secondly, are you trying to say that somehow the head of the FBI would have stopped this from happening? I don't think so. A little later, we're going to get into all the failures of Salt Lake City, the FBI there, to not see some very violent extremist groups inside its city. But as I mentioned, this was a hearing. This time it was the House of Representatives, not the Senate, where Kash Patel was yesterday. And if you think Kash Patel didn't push back against this craziness, he most certainly did, specifically to the guy who slept with a Chinese spy, Democrat Eric Swalwell.
Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
the
because
question
they failed
again,
to meet the muster
Director,
and their constitutional obligation.
I will work on the audio-visual capabilities.
I'm going to borrow your terminology and on your entire career in Congress.
I'm reclaiming my time,
It has been
Director.
a disgrace to the American people.
I'm reclaiming my time.
You can reclaim your time all you want.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak, Mr. Chairman?
It wasn't a dropout. He said, "You're bull, you know what." And you know what? It's all bull, you know what, coming from Eric Swalwell and the likes of the Democrats. Now, I want to turn to the investigation. I am here to tell you that I've been looking at, reporting on, and even investigating in many cases myself that have led to the solving of cold cases. I believe that the FBI and the Utah State Police have the right guy, at least the one who pulled the trigger. My big question is, who else was involved in this? Are there other groups? Now, conspiracy theories are everywhere. You don't have to go very far to find them. I'm not going to go through all of those. But what I will tell you is I think there are more people involved in this, whether it was from a funding perspective, from a motivation perspective, from a perspective that maybe someone could have stopped this from happening because they knew about it. Maybe it was from a training perspective. The FBI is looking into this. This is Jeff Gray, the Utah Attorney General.
Is it possible, sir, in your view, based on this being an ongoing investigation, that more charges could be possible?
It's certainly possible. I mean, they're following all leads that they have. I'm not privy to all their investigation, but they're continuing to do that. And so if those leads take them to other individuals that may have been involved, then certainly, yes, we would file charges.
All right, so we know from Kash Patel's testimony there are over 20 people that they are looking at. In fact, he said there are considerable more. This all stems from the Discord chat. That's that social media app where they talk. They think it's private. It's not always. It also could be other groups surrounding the Salt Lake City area and beyond. Now, are there ties to Antifa? Maybe. This is the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche.
Well, whenever you identify an entity as a terrorist organization or a terrorist group, there's a certain amount of weight and power that carries within law enforcement, whether it's federal law enforcement or state and local law enforcement. And so, yes, of course, by the President of the United States designating an organization as a terrorist organization, as a terrorist group or a terrorist organization, that has a lot of power and it has a lot of weight. And it's something President Trump takes very seriously.
All right, so looking at ties to Antifa, they are also looking at possible ties, and this is from the FBI, to a group in Salt Lake City dubbed the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. They openly advocate for violence to get their way. Here is their founder.
The LGBTQ movement started with Stonewall riots. I wouldn't even be able to be a student at the school if it wasn't for a violent riot that took place within a span of 3 days. So I absolutely agree that sometimes violent protests and really riots and those kinds of loud rebellions must take place for tangible change.
Violence, riots, for tangible change. Does assassinations fall into that mix? Someone needs to ask her. This is a flyer from an event that they were going to hold, a lecture, The Queer Resistance by the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. Now there are questions about the funding of this group and where it's coming from. There's also a bizarre trip to Cuba where allegedly they got all kinds of training. This is the founder again.
I think this trip of ours was so incredibly informative and educational. And I think what is incredible is that these brigades have been hosted for decades, right? They've been hosted since the 20th century. And it's really to ensure that U.S. activists are building this kind of solidarity with the Cuban people, and essentially we're breaking that propaganda, breaking that barrier of information that the U.S. is trying to hide from us about just how successful the revolution is.
Just how successful the revolution is. This is the Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. Apparently they have scrubbed their online presence after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and that woman you saw there is a self-avowed socialist, and she calls herself not liberal, but a leftist. Well, I want to bring in someone now who has been investigating these types of groups for as long as I can remember. He does an awful good job of doing it. The executive director of the research at the Government Accountability Institute. He's best-selling author. Seamus Bruner is with us. Seamus, it's great to have you on the program.
Yeah. Hey, Grant, it's great to be with you. This is a tough topic. I think a lot of Americans are coming to terms with not just the tragic, brutal death that we witnessed basically live of a hero, Charlie Kirk. We're also coming to terms with the fact that people on the left mostly, I mean, a YouGov poll found that 1 in 4, 25% of people who identify as very liberal support some form of violence against their opponents. Conservatives, very conservative people, just 3%, which is still too many, but it's night and day different. And we're seeing all throughout our country just the vandalisms of the vigils and the memorials to Charlie Kirk. One just down the road in Pensacola, Florida. They say the only kind of good Nazi is a dead Nazi, and they vandalized the picture of Charlie Kirk. These Antifa people, they took pictures of themselves doing it with all sorts of gore and horrible stuff. So they're all around us. They're teachers. They're people in your community, neighbors. It's a scary time. Getting to this Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. You saw the leader there, Urmia Fanayan. She's a Iranian-born activist, trans activist, so male to female, and he, I should say, traveled down to Cuba to receive revolutionary Marxist training. They're not shy about saying that revolution is their goal. They kind of say it's for self-defense, all of this weapons training and revolution training, but a revolution isn't self-defense. You're trying to overthrow a system. And so we've screen grabbed and captured all of the Substacks of Armed Queers. It's all been scrubbed, as you mentioned, but we went to it last week and through the weekend, even before they had been named as potential investigation targets of the FBI. And the stuff that we found is truly shocking stuff. They want to overthrow the American system. This is why they go down to Cuba to train with the Marxist revolutionaries there. And even more shocking is this Neville Roy Singham, who is behind the anti-ICE riots, behind all kinds of other chaos and BLM type events, the October 7th riots, pro-Hamas riots in New York. Neville Roy Singham is a CCP-aligned operative, billionaire guy, very wealthy, funding all of this chaos.
Seamus, is there any connection to the shooter, this Tyler Robinson, between the armed queers of Salt Lake City or the other man you just mentioned? Or is it just that the FBI is investigating this group?
There's no connection that anybody knows of at this time. It's only been reported that they're under investigation. So they may be totally innocent. Here's the problem. There's still an organization that, whether it's part of the Kirk assassination investigation or some other investigation, they need to be exposed and possibly charged with all kinds of crimes. I mean, Representative Ana Paulina Luna and Chairman James Comer of the Oversight Committee have just signed a letter to Treasury to freeze Neville Roy Singham's assets, charge him, Judge Janine Pirro, U.S. Attorney, I should say, in D.C., is looking at FARA charges against him. And so collaborating with a guy who's spreading this kind of chaos, even if it's not connected to the Kirk assassination, this is a very, very dangerous group. Everything they say points to overthrowing the United States. And I'm pro Second Amendment, so I don't think you should take guns of people who have not committed crimes, but they need to be investigated.
Yeah, they sure do. I'm grateful to your office and your organization for shedding some light on this. I had never heard of them until you tipped me off to these folks. Seamus Brunner, thank you for coming on, as always.
Thanks, Grant.
Absolutely. We'll be keeping an eye on the armed queers of Salt Lake City. You would have told me we were doing a story on the armed queers of Salt Lake City 2 months ago. I would have thought you're crazy. But we live in a new world. I'll tell you who is crazy, the mainstream media. The reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination has been absolutely despicable. Maybe the worst example of this was this ABC News reporter who went viral yesterday. His name's Matt Gutman. Apparently, he thinks Tyler Robinson and his trans boyfriend are like a Romeo and Juliet love story. This is a man who's accused of murdering somebody, and this is how the reporter lays it out.
But also, it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality.
Intimate portrait? He's an accused sniper who took out one of the most prominent Make America Great Again conservatives in America today. Well, he somewhat apologized, saying that's not what he was trying to do, and this, that, and the other thing. Apology not accepted, Matt. You're an idiot, quite frankly, and you're what's wrong with the mainstream media. Then, of course, there's Montel Williams. CNN marches this guy out. Montel Williams? Under what rock did he crawl out from?
We have to kind of, but the internet is not realized.
Though, everybody here acknowledges that there have been thousands upon thousands of people, ordinary people, who have taken to social media to celebrate this, yes or no?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
It's not even been a week. So you're going to have to give us a little grace on being angry about somebody who did what you always say that we should do. Let's talk.
We didn't
and
get much grace over.
And he got
more
killed.
than a week's grace over two Michigan elected officials who were murdered. Did we give? Was it 3 weeks before we decided to say that there was something wrong with Speaker Pelosi's husband being hit in the head with a hammer?
By a homeless drug addict? I mean, it was terrible that happened. This is not the same kind of case.
No, it's not. A homeless drug addict went into Nancy Pelosi's house and did damage to her husband. It's a travesty. Should never happen. And the two Minnesota lawmakers, Montel Williams, it was a Tim Walz appointee. What radical left-wing governor like Tim Walz appoints some Make America Great Again conservative to a government committee? I don't think so. The point isn't even that. The point is that someone is dead and you are literally, somehow, in some respects, supporting the violence against conservatives. I want to bring in now the managing editor of Newsbusters over at the Media Research Center. He's been busy. Curtis Houck is with us. Curtis, welcome to the program.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Curtis, this is I mean, it may be some of the lowest stuff I've seen you guys find.
Yeah, this one is absolutely stunning because it's such a weird waffling track that we've seen. You know, after the shooting, it was controversial lightning rod, controversial, and Matt Dowd's hateful thoughts, hateful actions. Then it became maybe the guy was a right winger. And then, you know, now it's he himself is responsible for this and no one else. And now it's the power of love that did this. You know, what they're trying to do here, Montel Williams and Matt Gutman and all the rest of them, is they're trying to Luigi Mangione Mr. Tyler Robinson here. And they're trying to paint a picture of murderers or people too. And it's disgusting. It's pathetic. And we're not going to deal with this. We're done with this. Matt Gutman has been suspended twice before, I should point out, for incorrect information about the Kobe Bryant crash and once for his reporting during COVID, violating company policies. So this guy should be on thin ice already.
He ought to be fired. Let me play, for the guys behind the glass, cut 22. I'm going to play two clips for you. I'm going to play one from CNN and then some proof that they're absolutely wrong and then get you to comment. Watch this.
You have to kind of, but the internet is not real life.
Though, everybody here acknowledges that there have been thousands upon thousands of people, ordinary people, who have taken to social media to celebrate this, yes or no?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I have high school friends who are.
Scott, hold on a second. Hold on. I just think we should just, we got to be factual about this, right?
Be factual? Curtis, watch this.
We got Charlie in the neck, in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck, in the neck.
Charlie Kirk got shot and he's dead. Finally.
Got right in the voice box. I might be 1% less atheist today.
I don't.
It's factual. There were thousands, if not tens of thousands of people taking to social media. And let me say this. Jimmy Kimmel, by the way, some breaking news, taken off air, Curtis Houck, for his comments.
Yeah, breaking news. Credit to our late night beat writer, Alex Christie. Since he's been our late night writer, since he took over in late 2022, Stephen Colbert and now Jimmy Kimmel almost certainly are off the air. This is absolutely pathetic. I mean, we've been tracking the guests. 58 liberal politicians and pundits on his show versus only 2 conservatives. They were Mike Lindell. In 2024, 92% of his political jokes targeted conservatives. His comments about Charlie Kirk, mocking MAGA, insisting that, they're trying to make sure that he's not one of us. We're disgusting. Pathetic.
Let me play it for you because some people may not have heard Jimmy Kimmel, which he is off air. I wonder if this off air will last. I'll get your thoughts on that, but this is Jimmy Kimmel.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
I mean, we all know it wasn't one of us. Your thoughts if this will last? Is he off air for good?
Well, it sure seems like it. Nexstar, which holds over 30 ABC affiliates, had written a letter saying that their affiliates were not going to have Jimmy Kimmel on the air, and that's a huge percentage. A lot of major markets that have this. We at the Media Research Center believe that this is a good first step, but we know the moral rot is deep. The FCC knows this as well. Chairman Carr knows this as well, that this has to continue. This cannot stop at just Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. We should say, too, it's their show. Liberals out there, they're not dead. It's just their shows that are dead. They're still able to go out and say whatever they want on social media and comedy clubs and whatnot. It's just their shows.
Which we have seen them do over and over again. There was that clown from MSNBC who was the ESPN guy, and they still go spouting out on social media. But as you said, they are alive, and they can still use their voice, unlike Charlie Kirk. Curtis Houck, it's always good to see you, and great work over there at Newsbusters.
Thanks, Graham. Appreciate it, my friend. Talk soon.
Absolutely. And, Nexstar, as you heard Curtis say, owns 30 stations. They're in the process of trying to sell off these stations. Maybe this played a role. So what buyer wants to have Jimmy Kimmel on air that's literally, again, I keep using the term morally bankrupt, but I don't know what else to use other than godless, soulless, and maybe, quite frankly, demonic. All right, if you are stressed about back taxes, missed the April deadline, or have a messy books, don't wait. The IRS is cracking down. They're cracking down hard, and penalties add up fast. But Tax Network USA can help with direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators. Tax Network USA knows how to win. Get your free consultation to see if you qualify to reduce or eliminate what you owe. They can also help you protect you from wage garnishments or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Call 800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. All right, fired CDC Director Susan Monterey took a verbal beating from Senator Rand Paul in today's hearing. We get into that next.
Fellow Americans, did you know a war is being waged right now for how you spend your hard-earned dollars? Over 100 countries worldwide are preparing to switch to a digital currency. Now, this means cash will be replaced by money governments can monitor and track. This tracking makes it possible to collect data from every purchase you make and the ability to decide what you can buy and when you can buy it. What's more, your assets can be frozen or even seized. I'm appalled at such an assault on financial privacy. My friends at Swiss America have a report called The Secret War on Cash with an action plan to protect your financial privacy. So please, call or text the number on your screen for a free copy. With the growing reality of a government-backed digital currency, the time to act is now. So call or text the number on your screen for your free Secret War report.
Stay tuned to get a free automatic toilet bowl cleaner from Mermaid. Your sink stopper's broken, but fixing a drain is such a pain. Not anymore. Introducing Mermaid Drain Magic, the instant solution to most broken drains. Simply remove and replace. In just seconds, you can fill and drain with a simple press of a button. Drain Magic makes replacing your old, broken, rusty, even missing sink stoppers fast and easy.
Practically took me 5 seconds to replace. It absolutely made my sink look like brand new.
Honestly, I couldn't believe it. How could it work so well, look so good, and install so quickly?
And forget clogging, because Drain Magic's anti-clogging basket helps catch debris before it goes down the drain. When the basket's full, just discard. Helps prevent clogs in your sink by catching hair, food, even jewelry. Drain Magic uses a silicone gasket that creates a watertight seal without messy plumber's putty. Look, this sink was filled hours ago and the water still remains. Press the spring-loaded stopper and the water's gone. Made of brass and finished in high-quality chrome, Drain Magic is rust-resistant and built to last.
It's made out of metal, not plastic, and it actually has some weight to it. Yeah, this is the real deal.
Just looks like a new sink now.
Order your 2-in-1 drain solution, Mermaid Drain Magic, today for only $19.99. And with every order, you're going to get a Mermaid automatic toilet bowl cleaner absolutely free. Just drop it in the tank for up to 3 months of hands-free cleaning. Mermaid's ultra-concentrated formula cleans and deodorizes with every flush. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Mermaid Drain Magic at this incredibly low price with free Mermaid toilet bowl cleaner. There's a strict limit of 3. Call or click now to order.
Call 1-800-519-3206 or visit GetDrainMagic.com. So call 1-800-519-3206 or visit GetDrainMagic.com. Order now.
Is the debate over changing the childhood schedule. The hepatitis B vaccine on the schedule is given to newborns. What is the medical, scientific reason and proof for giving a newborn a hepatitis B vaccine if the mom is Hep B negative?
I want to go back.
That's the former CDC director who was fired by RFK Jr. She can't answer the question. There's no reason to give a newborn a hepatitis B vaccine if the mom doesn't have hepatitis B. It's a sexually transmitted disease. You all understand that? And it's on the childhood vaccine schedule? Ridiculous. It's about money, folks, okay? And I believe she's in the pocket of Big Pharma. One of the reasons why she's gone. Rand Paul continued with her.
What is the childhood vaccine schedule? And the burden should be on you. You want to make all the kids take this? The burden is upon you and the people you wouldn't fire to prove to us that we need to give our 6-month-old a COVID vaccine and that we need to give our 1-day-old a hepatitis B vaccine. That's what the debate ought to be about, not whether all vaccines are good or whether we live in Alice in Wonderland.
I actually agree with you. And I was open to the science. I just would not pre-commit to approving all the ACIP recommendations without the science.
Untrue.
Thank you, Rand Paul. What's not to commit to? We now know you don't need a COVID vaccine for a 6-month-old. You don't. Or a hepatitis B vaccine for a 1-day-old. I want to bring in our very good friend who is so knowledgeable about all these issues and the players in Washington, and that's important. She is, of course, the chief of disaster and emergency medicine for the wellness company. Dr. Kelly Victory is back with us. Dr. Victory, it's great to have you back.
Thanks very much for having me, Grant.
All right, Dr. Victory, let me ask you, because a lot of people maybe don't know the backstory here. Susan Monterez, the former CDC director, fired by RFK Jr., what was the issues with her? Why was she fired?
Well, let's start with, I thought she was a terrible pick, unfortunately, Grant, from the beginning, and I went on the record and said so. I believed that she was a big pharma shill, and in fact, that's what she is. She took advantage of Secretary Kennedy's goodwill, his trust, and lied her way through the interview process and got appointed. Once she was in office, it became very clear that she was not aligned with the initiatives that the Secretary Kennedy was promoting, including reform of and transparency regarding vaccines and other things related to vaccines. That wasn't the only issue. There were also issues regarding the mutilation of children, otherwise known as transgender surgeries, that clearly Susan Monterez did not agree with, and she refused to to fire or terminate employees under her who were undermining what Secretary Kennedy was trying to do. She is a serial liar. She sat in front of that hearing today and time again lied under oath, otherwise known as perjury. Senator Mullins pointed out to her when he was asking...
Dr. Victory, let me play, because I have Senator Mullins' clip. So instead of you describing it, let me play it for you so everybody there can hear it. Roll number 2.
He told me he could not trust me, and I told him if he could not trust me, he could fire me.
Ma'am, all we're looking for is you to be honest, and you haven't been. You're not being honest with the conversation you're having. You're not being honest with the timeline, and you won't even give the answers of who your attorneys were.
It's pretty harsh, Dr. Victory.
Well, Senator Mullins goes on in that clip to remind Susan Monterez that the meeting was recorded. She continues to be dishonest after being told, we have a recording of the meeting, so be very careful how you describe it. And she boldly goes forward and once again lies about how it all went down. With regard also, she was asked by several people to introduce or to name her attorneys or questions about her attorneys, and it's very telling. Here she is at a hearing, presumably about her role at the CDC and her feelings about the science and her interpretation of the science. She showed up not with scientists or researchers or stacks of literature. She showed up flanked by 2 anti-Trump attorneys, namely Abby Lowell and Mark Zaid, both of whom were passing her notes and coaching her through the hearing. So this was not about her coming and saying Secretary Kennedy misunderstood the science, or he misinterpreted the data, or we didn't agree about a particular study design. This was a conflict of philosophy. And unfortunately for her, she's now been outed.
Let's listen to Jim Banks, Republican congressman, talking about the attorney situation with her under questioning. Roll that.
Of the thousands of lawyers that you could hire to help you through this process, why Mark Zaid?
You know, look, the moments, the hours after I had been terminated, I was concerned in a number of different facets associated with my termination.
All right, so Mark Zaid played a big role in the impeachment trial of President Trump. So I believe what happened, Kelly, is they went to her and they said, we'll do this for nothing for you. I bet you she's not even paying any legal fees. And this is about get Trump, get RFK Jr., try to capitalize on everything. It didn't work out well for them today, though, did it?
No, it didn't. And as I said, it's very telling. If you really wanted to justify that you had been wrongly terminated because you had a difference of agreement regarding the protocols and the science, you would have shown up with, supporters, people to help coach you, pass you notes, who were scientists. That's not what Susan Menard is. She was a political plant. She's a pharma shill. Fortunately, she was exposed sooner than later before she could do any damage. But she clearly, from my perspective, was a wolf in sheep's clothing from the start. This did not go well. She was exposed for her dishonesty.
Real quick, one more, just to show you that, Democrats can't help themselves. As I say in this entire show, they've been spiraling out of control here. This is Senator Ed Markey, cut one.
You said clearly that vaccines work, that they are safe, and that our children and most vulnerable deserve the life-saving protections that vaccines have provided for generations. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. may put the con in conscience, but you put the science in conscience.
First off, it's so corny, and it's so disingenuous because they're trying to paint it as if RFK Jr. is trying to do away with all vaccines. I'll give you about 20 seconds if you can for me.
Exactly. Look, the American people voted for Maha. They voted for Trump and they voted for Kennedy to be at his side because they wanted reform. They wanted transparency and accountability in these agencies. And that is exactly what Robert Kennedy is delivering. He is delivering for once accountability, not just the status quo where we continue to rubber stamp after rubber stamp these vaccines, these drugs, these protocols that are not based on science and do nothing but feather the nests of people in big pharma.
Yeah. Dr. Kelly Victory, thank you again for an inside look at this and how it's playing out in Washington. We always appreciate when you come on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, a big thanks to the Wellness Company for putting you on loan to us as well. All right, Jerome Too Late Powell has finally reduced interest rates. What does this mean for the Trump economy? We'll talk about that next.
How does the world's most trusted dog expert keep his own dog so healthy?
Hi, I am Cesar Milan. In my 20 years rehabilitating dogs, I've seen too many struggle with health problems that no amount of training could fix. Then I discovered it wasn't the dog, it was their food. Fortunately, I found veterinarian Dr. Marty's anti-kibble breakthrough.
Nature's Blend is packed with whole foods that are freeze-dried, locking in nutrients.
I saw remarkable improvements in my dogs within weeks.
Try Dr. Marty risk-free for 90 days. Plus, get a free gift when you call or visit drmartypets.com/Caesar.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can scan and hack your information without you even knowing. Worse yet, it's bulky and so disorganized. But not anymore, because Slim is in. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash truly protected. And now may be your last chance to get it for a low price. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from scanning your wallet and stealing your info.
Having your information stolen is a nightmare, but with Slim Mint, I know I'm protected.
With money clips, cash can easily fall out, but with the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. Then just press the button to release the lock. Slim Mint is ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to securely fit your additional cards and your extra cash. Even with everything you see here in the Slim Mint, it's still ultra-thin. Bulky wallets are uncomfortable, but the Slim Mint is so compact it fits in any size pocket. Plus, it keeps everything easy to access.
Slim Mint holds everything from pictures to credit cards, my driver's license. Yeah, it's still so thin.
Say bye-bye to bent cards and damaged magnetic strips. Slim Mint keeps them protected. It's crush resistant and can really take a beating. Similar wallets sell for over $100. But call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, do Due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. You still have time to get your very own Slim Mint wallets, but you must act fast. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-608-6630. That's 1-800-608-6630. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-608-6630 now.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison. About a year in prison. 4 years out of an 18-year sentence in prison. J6ers have been treated like terrorists. And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again.
Please scan the QR code to donate $10 or more to support these American patriots.
Thank you for standing in the gap.
Welcome back, everyone. They are calling this state dinner in the United Kingdom historic. This is President Trump and Melania as they pose for a group photo with the choristers at St. George's Chapel. The festivities continued as President Trump met with King Charles to greet service members at Windsor Castle, which is another apparently very big deal. And then, of course, maybe one of the highest honors is having the Star-Spangled Banner played for the president and the first lady upon their arrival at Windsor Castle in a horse-drawn carriage. Now, all of this is really about the trade deals. England is hurting. It needs the United States, make no doubt about it. President Trump likes to talk about cards. Well, he holds the cards here, and this is about England seeing and knowing who their daddy is, and that's President Trump. This is Richard Fitzwilliams, a royal commentator on Fox Business.
Well, the guard of honor that greeted President Trump, the First Lady, was in fact the most spectacular in our history. No less than 3 of the guards, the Grenadiers, the Coldstream and the Scots Guards being involved. And that's just but one example. I mean, when Sir Keir Starmer handed President Trump the envelope with that invitation, he made very sure it was on television.
It was fabulous. The Scotch Guard, I thought that's what protects my sofa and my suit. I don't know. I can't help it. I actually think the pomp and circumstance and all the royalty stuff is silly. I really, really think it's silly. But it is a very high honor for President Trump. And let me tell you something. I'd be soaking it in, too, if I was President Trump. He had his family there. Some of his kids were there. It was fabulous. To the other big news today. Too late, Powell. You know him, the Fed chair. Well, he finally lowered rates, as he said he would do.
While the unemployment rate remains low, it has edged up. Job gains have slowed, and downside risks to employment have risen. At the same time, inflation has risen recently and remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals, and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 1/4 percentage point. We also decided to continue to reduce our securities holdings.
Are we back on? That guy may be the most boring human being on our earth. Too late it should be called too boring. Well, we knew these rates were coming. These rate cuts were coming. The markets didn't really do much. Dow was up a little bit, S&P down a little bit, basically unchanged, because he told us this was coming a month ago. But what does this mean in the long term? I want to bring in now from Unleash Prosperity, Principal Phil Kirpin. Phil, it's great to have you back on the show.
Great to be with you, Grant.
All right, great to be with you. What do you think this means? I would have liked to have seen it 1/2 point, quite frankly. What do you think this means? Where do we go from here?
Well, Stephen Myron, the newest appointee who was just confirmed, was the only dissenter who said he would have cut 1/2 point, which is kind of interesting. With some of the others jockeying for a potential promotion to chair next year, they decided not to issue that dissent. I think that we're probably going to get 1 or 2 more rate cuts this year, 25 basis points, but they didn't give the kind of forward guidance we've gotten used to recently. They kind of said it's going to be meeting by meeting. We're not sure what we're doing. The real message coming from Chairman Powell today, I think, was he's not really sure what he's doing. I mean, he's sort of all over the map, and he sort of grudgingly did this 25 basis point cut. But the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting today is the 10-year didn't really move. It went down a little bit and then it went back up. And I think, if we really want to make money more affordable for people, get those mortgage rates down, unlock the housing market and so on, it's nice for the Fed to cut, but we've got to bring long rates down. And to bring long rates down, we've got to bring the expectations for inflation down in the medium to long term. And that means Congress has got to figure out how to cut spending. They have not delivered on that in any meaningful way to this point. And I think that if we don't have that ingredient of this, it's going to be pretty hard to get the rates that people really care about down, even as the Fed cuts.
Phil, it all comes down to government spending. That drives every negative thing that happens in this country. Not everything. I mean, talk about law and order and crime. But when it comes economically, nearly every negative thing comes from overspending on behalf of our government. And we're not even close to getting it back under control.
Yeah, they did very little on spending, and the media and the Democrats acted like, the most savage cuts in history is what they were saying during the reconciliation debate. And then you looked at the bill and they didn't really cut anything, right? They reduced the rate of increase in Medicaid, and that was about it. So I'm hoping, they're going to be into a continuing resolution here. They're sort of punting on the government funding debate for a few weeks. And let's hope they can come up with some real cuts. Let's hope they can indicate that we're not just going to have these massive multi-trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye can see, because if we do, I just don't think the long-term rates are going to come down much, even as the Fed cuts.
Yeah. All right, let me get back to the state visit in the United Kingdom. This is Piers Morgan on Fox News talking about what a big deal this is. He would know.
It's a statement by the royal family. We're going to roll out the ultimate red carpet. And again, just to stress, I've not seen this done for any other world leader. This is unprecedented. And bearing in mind that Donald Trump is getting a second state visit, but the first one was for a different monarch. So nobody has ever, U.S. president or...
All right, so a big deal, according to Piers Morgan. This is really all about the trade deal, trying to gain favor with him. England needs us, if you can, 30 seconds or so. How important is it that we get a decent deal, maybe more important for England than it is for us?
Well, I think it's important for both. I think it's critical for their economy, but I think it's also really important for us because this is sort of the most advanced of all the trade agreements. And I think that Japan and Europe are sort of following along. I think we're going to have multiple stages of agreements with all of these trading partners. That's why Trump didn't drop the tariffs all the way in any of these agreements when he announced them, because we have a lot of non-tariff barriers that we're dealing with all these countries. And that's why it's going to be kind of iterative. But I think, the getting a good deal with the UK is great. By the way, Grant, the thing that was the most amazing to me, I don't know if you saw it on the BBC, but they kept going up to people to say, hey, how much do you hate Trump? Who were standing outside. They thought they were protesters. And all these people were oh, I love him. I came out here to cheer for him. And so, I think that there's something going on in the UK also in terms of sort of shifting away from kind of liberal establishment towards more Trumpism.
Well, I did. I saw that. And then, going back to Charlie Kirk, I saw in England people chanting Charlie, Charlie, Charlie in the streets of London. And so maybe something is going on there. They need it. Boy, I could tell you they could use some conservatism in London right now. That city is a mess. Phil Kerpen, it's always great to have you on the program. Thanks for the conversation, my friend.
All right. Have a good one.
Absolutely. You too. All right, folks, coming up next, youth outreach was one of Charlie Kirk's superpowers. Well, we speak with a group, you know them well, they're one of my favorites, who aided that mission. Next.
To avoid digital threats, just turn on NordVPN. Improve your protection against trackers, malicious websites, and malware-ridden downloads. Get the deal now.
Thinking about Medicare? Think AMAC. Medicare can be complicated, but AMAC makes it simple. Our licensed agents provide free, unbiased guidance to help you find the plan that best suits your needs. But that's not all AMAC has to offer. AMAC is America's leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization, guided by the principles of faith, family, and freedom. So when it comes to Medicare and so much more, think AMAC.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere to fix that?
You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast, so strong, and so convenient. It's like putting the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires of your car on a single charge, or inflate a bag full of soccer balls at practice. Bullseye Pro is so advanced, it has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Plus, it can be 100% hands-free. You simply set the target pressure and walk away, keeping you out of harm's way. Bullseye Pro is lightweight, durable, and powerful enough to inflate this massive monster truck tire. Plus, it has 4 ultra-bright LED lights to safely inflate at night. Bullseye Pro comes with 3 custom air nozzles on board, so you can easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Forget driving to the gas station. Bullseye Pro is your anywhere, anytime inflation station. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system, all for the factory direct price of just $79.99. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. But to really inflate this offer, we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. You get it all. An incredible value for one low price. Call or go online to order now.
To order, call 1-800-976-9718 or go to getbullseyepro.com. So call 1-800-976-9718. That's 1-800-976-9718 or order online at getbullseyepro.com. Order now.
Did you know that thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing? If you've written a book, Page Publishing can help you through the process. We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you.
Call or scan for your free writer's guide today.
Welcome back, everyone. You hear me talk a lot about Patriot Mobile. They have been an integral part in not only my success, but my ability to be your voice. But it's not just me. They support so many conservative influencers and groups like Turning Point USA. If you have ever been to a Turning Point USA event with Charlie Kirk, you will see Patriot Mobile.
And the fact of the matter is look, we're all going to answer to him. But I live by that faith. And if we work together and lift each other up, we will build this red wave and red conservative movement that will benefit all of us.
I'm going to tell you something this with all my fabric. I know these people well. They go to these places not for advertising, because they want America to succeed. That I promise you. I urge you to support them as we talk about a parallel economy. Get your cell phone service with Patriot Mobile, patriotmobile.com/RAV. But beyond that, I want to bring in the Chief Operating Officer for Patriot Mobile. My friend Jenny Story is with us. Jenny, it is great to see you. And like so many guests, I've had to say, I'm sorry about Charlie Kirk. I know you knew him personally, and welcome to the program, and thanks for all you do, especially with Turning Point USA.
Absolutely. I know Wednesday was heart-wrenching for all of us. And, you know, we had Rav in our main offices running, and, you know, we were watching, and actually Scott Coburn was telling me that, you know, when Steve Gruber pulled you in, I guess you were on your car, and it was just so heart-wrenching and emotional. We were actually down in our on our sales floor, and we were in tears and just basically on the floor, you know, praying for a miracle. You know, we were just heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. Charlie's been a part of our family for many years, and it's still really hard to digest and to imagine that this is real.
You know, I've watched Turning Point USA grow. I've watched Patriot Mobile grow right along with Turning Point USA and so many others. I'm looking at some of the things that you guys have done. 2,500 In God We Trust posters to West Virginia schools. 10,000 Ten Commandment posters. Up to 55,000 now in Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. I was with you at the Jason Aldean tour where there are so many great conservatives. All of it is about pushing America in the right direction. All of it, a lot of it, is about reaching our youth. Exactly what Charlie Kirk was all about, Jenny.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be part of these projects. We look for things that we can do that others won't do. I mean, there's probably very few for-profit companies that are as active and boots on the ground that we are. And so, you know, I think it was 3 years ago, we were very active in getting In God We Trust posters throughout Texas. And that was really through like a grassroots movement of mama bears that really wanted to get that in the schools. And this year with, when the Supreme Court, the Kennedy case was won, and you know, basically we could bring God back into the schools. We worked with First Liberty, and they said, hey, you know, we know you did this, the In God We Trust. We now have the opportunity to put 10 Commandments in schools, and we got a whole coalition of folks together. So it takes more than just a few people. We've been able to magnify and exponentially have a positive impact by working with these other coalition of causes that we also support. So we were able to help in Arkansas, Louisiana, West Virginia, and Texas. Texas, actually, 160,000 posters are out. So it's really exciting. That's about 3 million students. Yes, it's exciting.
It really is. Lastly, before I let you go, now with Charlie gone, I think Turning Point USA is going to be bigger than it ever was. I think Charlie Kirk, if he could have been bigger in death than he was in life, I think he actually is. I didn't know if that was going to be possible, but he is. Where does Patriot Mobile and Turning Point USA go together? I imagine you're right there. Any plans, if you can, real quick?
We plan to continue to support his podcast. We're also going to increase our contributions to Turning Point. I think they have about, 40,000 new school inquiries, chapter inquiries, and we want to be right alongside them. This is the most important time right now. We can't take our foot off the gas. We've got to continue to support them. We've got the 2026 election. And guys, we got to get off the couch and we need to keep voting. I'm just concerned that people became complacent because Trump came in and they're like, oh, he'll take care of that. He'll take care of that. Yeah. But we have to be very involved in our local elections, and we have to be in and voting in 2026.
This is the exact reason, besides great service, okay, and I mean it. My phone is Patriot Mobile phone. My son's phone is Patriot Mobile phone. Besides great service, America-based, you guys are doing the right thing, and I urge people to support you. Jenny Story, thank you so much for coming on. You got a great husband in Glenn. The whole team is fabulous. Let me tell people how they can find you guys and your company. Go to patriotmobile.com/RAV. Use the promo code RAV to get a free month. And you just heard there, upping their contributions to Turning Point USA. If that doesn't tell you why you should support that company and have your cell phone there, stop giving to the other big three. They're going to spend it on leftist organizations. That's not where we want our money going. All right, Adam Schiff doesn't even get support from his allies. Next.
People are being given 20 days to move their savings out of bank accounts just because of their political views. In fact, a conservative billionaire in Washington, who you know very well, was forced to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul. If they can debank billionaires for their politics, what's stopping them from doing the same to you? This is why I've always advocated for the one asset that can't be debanked.